what is going on, guys? Today I'm going to be checking out Arcane Season 2 Blood, Sweat, and Tears music video. It's been forever since I've reacted to music related to League of Legends, so this should be quite interesting. If you've been following my League of Legends journey, the music is a hit or miss for me, and I do not lie to you guys if I'm not feeling something. Alright guys, I'm just ready to hop right into it, so let's get to it. Man, it truly feels like a movie. Oh.
I was raised by wolves.
Ah.
I was born
Is that our
and
oh gosh. Sorry guys. It's been over a month. Kindred. Is that our symbol of kindred?
up till there's no more mouth to feed. There's a hand on my throat and a plane
That's so
at
terrifying.
my feet. But the weight of the world won't bend my knees. Broken bones, battle scars, I've seen the bloodshed carved in stone. When it's my sword, they won't forget. No peace till I can be there all. Lead me with my demons.
Oh my gosh. I mean, is it related to Mel's side of the family? Like, is that the army she's part of? Oh my gosh. The symbolism, it seems so deep, but I'm like totally missing it.
There's a hand on my throat and a child in my face, but the weight of the world
She's so badass though. Oh.
won't bend my knees.
Is that her? Is that Mel's mother, the one in the armor? Does she have like gray hair? Or are they completely unrelated? I wonder what the symbolism is with the lamb. Is she trying to like prove herself to be able to join them? Maybe they're testing her.
It's all I know. Don't walk my spirit, don't cleanse my soul. You can't break my courage and down. Oh, 'cause that's all I know. No peace till I be there.
Sorry, I'm not saying a lot, guys. It just seems so powerful that I'm just taking it all in. See, that looked like that would be Mel's mom.
Is all I know.
Oh, she didn't die. The wolf didn't take her. So that was basically like her life flashing before her very eyes. Looks like she's the only survivor though. I don't know if that has anything to do with like a foreshadowing of how things are gonna look like for it to be related to Arcane. Or is it just solely because of like the characters involved? That was very powerful. I'm just trying to see if there's more information here. This is how a wolf takes the throne. I'm gonna need some help with this one, you guys. I mean, I'm gonna also read through some of the comments as well. There's an explanation video. How long is it though? Oh, it's 30 minutes. Should I watch it, you guys? Oh man, I think I might watch it. I wanna understand. Let's watch it.
Not enough tinfoil hats in the world to contain me now. I have a reputation to uphold. And so, it once again happened that League of Legends got a new cinematic. But this time, it is slightly different, because while this is a cinematic that is technically promoting a skin, it does seem to be fully canon, and better than that, it was made by Fortiche. And by now, everyone knows that Fortiche are a bunch of madmen that are focusing on details all the time. Which means, expect a lot of details to be hidden all over the place. And because there is simply so much to explain, let's dive right in. So behold the lore of the Blood, Sweat and Tears cinematic explained. The shot begins on what really seems to be the shores of Ionia. It is never directly confirmed, but considering the aesthetics as well as the timeline, the shores of Ionia would make sense the most. Also, literally every time Riot shows Noxians on a shore, it is an Ionian shore. And that's because it is always referencing the Noxian invasion of Ionia. So, very clearly, what we can see here are the remains of a Noxian warband. Specifically, it seems to be a Noxian warband that was killed with Noxian arrows. I don't believe this is an oversight, this is likely done on purpose. Unless Ionians just took Noxian arrows. Anyway, this scene is likely happening while Borim Darkwill is still the Grand General of Noxus, because he was dethroned after the invasion of Ionia, which could mean that this is Ambessa's warband being killed by Darkwill's forces under the influence of LeBlanc. But also, it is possible that Ambessa was following Darkwill's orders.
I completely forgot,
it is happening after Swain has dealt with his story arc in Ionia, and now he was on his way back to Noxus, and he was just killing whoever got in his path. Either way, these are definitely Noxian arrows killing their own, and there are many different reasons why that could be happening. And in the background, you can see this flag. Now, I'll be honest, with the knowledge we have right now, I have no idea what that is. It is not a typical Noxian banner, so it has to be a banner of one of the families or the houses of Noxus. I am pretty sure once Arcane 2 comes out, we'll know. Anyway, of course, young Ambessa is found dying here among the rest. And in a very League of Legends fantasy fashion, that's when death arrives. Yes, one could argue that this is just a wolf, similar to how thematically other Noxians such as Darius faced them in the past, but here, it really wouldn't add up. First of all, if we trust that we are in Ionia, finding a wolf on the shores of Ionia would be like finding a unicorn, unless it belongs to another Noxian warband, I guess. So this is not just a wolf. It is the incarnation of death. Or in other words, Kindred. This is Kindred. And why would Ambessa see a wolf here specifically instead of the lamb? Similar to what Tryndamere saw when he was dying in the Still Here cinematic?
Right, he saw the arrow.
The lamb is always supposed to approach first to offer peaceful death. Well, it's because Ambessa was a Noxian now. And Noxians have a very special relationship with death. They do not worship the lamb, because Noxians don't live to die a peaceful death. They are warriors believing in strength above all. I mean, that's why the main Noxian motto is, kill them until they are family. I know, poetic. In fact, all of this was first explained in the Principles of Strength story. Here's a quick section of that. Pausing in the shadows of a narrow passage looking towards the Shrine of the Wolf. It was a tall, multi-tiered tower with open sides, each level held aloft by pillars of dark stone. In the center of the tower, looming almost 50 feet high, was a massive obsidian statue of a seated wolf. She gazed up. In ancient Valoran custom, death was often represented as a dualistic in nature, taking the form of the lamb of peaceful death and the wolf of violent ends. In Noxus, the latter was honored with rather more rigor and panoply. Dying peacefully in one's bed was not the way to secure honor in an empire.
Kind of reminds me of like a Viking's death, you know?
So given that Ambessa is dying here on a battlefield,
So is
among
Ambessa
Noxians, it makes
Mel's
sense
mom?
for the wolf to approach her. Which is also why the entire song is about Ambessa being raised by the wolves. She was raised by death. And as the wolf approaches with its magical spark in the eye, it quickly turns into the vicious bite of death. And so Ambessa's challenge begins. Simply put, she would have to battle the wolf, or death itself, to survive. Which once again is the exact same thing that Tryndamere did in his cinematic. But here, the battle is a lot more interesting. So, of course, on one's deathbed, they are likely to witness flashbacks from their entire life. Which is exactly
what I had guessed, like her life flashing before her eyes.
Ambessa's past. But not just yet. It first begins in a rather ominous, almost Noxian-looking crypt, with big red lights in the background. Well, on one side you could argue that this place looks like something that was built by the Black Rose, and sure, considering all the hints around LeBlanc and Arcane, that might be possible. But far more likely, it is possible that this is the Noxian version of the Realm of Death. Not Mordekaiser's realm, that one is slightly different, that one is more spirity. No, this is the true death. And at the very back, among the red light, we can see Kindred. We'll see more of that near the end of the video.
Can you? That's the silhouette you made up from that?
And she is tasked to approach Kindred themselves. First thing to mention here, notice how clean Ambessa looks. She is smooth like a stone, and there is a very important reason why that is the case coming later on. And thematically, as Ambessa is on her way to Kindred, when the lyrics sing, "When it's my sword, they won't forget," we go back into the past that wasn't forgotten. So, this is young Ambessa. And strap up, because here, things are gonna go wild.
Alright, it looked like they were going wild.
This shot reveals a lot of things. First of all, I strongly believe that this is a confirmation that Ambessa originally comes from Shurima. This was hinted a few times during Arcane 1, especially with Mel, but I don't believe it was ever directly confirmed. Well, here, it almost looks undeniable. And this would also explain why Ambessa and Mel are both heavily utilizing gold in their designs. Because gold is definitely not a Noxian color. Red? Sure. Black? Definitely. Obsidian? Maybe. Gold? Definitely not. And that's because gold is always associated with two places. Shurima, and given Shurima's history, also Targon. After that, if you see golden details anywhere else, it is usually somehow linked to Targon. So if the Medarda family was known for wearing red and gold, some relation to Shurima was expected. But I was not expecting this. See, the entire scene is really cool because it is purposefully vague. And it is forcing you to guess what's really happening. And right
Which I'm not great at, obviously.
Outcomes of this. First of all, you'll see that this scene is filled with two kinds of characters. First, you'll see these weird figures in black, almost feathered cloaks and a golden mask. And then there are these blue-skinned characters with a golden mask that heavily resembles the one that Ambessa is wearing in battles. If you then look into the background and notice the artifact that resembles the wolf, it starts to suggest that these two kinds of characters are representing the lamb and the wolf. With the white-dressed characters representing the lamb, and the black cloaks heavily
would have never made that connection.
But this is the coward's way of thinking. That would be far too simple. I would rather go into a far more interesting, albeit crazy tinfoil hat theory. See, I really hope that these characters are real, and that they are not just fragments of Ambessa's imagination dealing with death. And instead, these are a real reflection of Ambessa's past. And
that's what I thought it would have been.
Xerath's followers. The chances of this being true are small, but if it is true, I'm gonna tip my hat to the writers because this would be awesome. You see, first of all, blue or purple-skinned characters are always tied to some kind of magic overload. At least that's the case in
I
this
obviously am
universe.
not smart
Which is
enough to
also
make any sort of
why
connection,
Xerath's
but I wouldn't
followers
have
often
thought
have
they were
blue
like
or
symbols
pale
of
skin.
death. I thought
On
it was
top
like
of that,
an
the
actual
vast
flashback of what
majority
she's
of
been
them
through.
are wearing golden
Despite the whole
masks,
lamb going up
which
into the
may
air, that kind of
make you
seemed kind of
wonder if Ambessa is
weird.
also wearing the golden mask. Wouldn't she have to be Xerath's follower, or at least be a little bit crazy? Well, not necessarily. You see, Xerath was born in the Saikal village. This was confirmed in the realms
I feel
of
like
Runeterra
that guy
book,
had some
which,
sort of
as far as
connection
we
with
know, should be a
Pantheon?
relatively normal village these
Right?
days. Even though there is a high chance of the locals honoring
like that's
Xerath
when
here. So
this guy
if
was
it
last
gets
mentioned.
confirmed that Ambessa is from Saikal, then all the golden designs as well as the mask suddenly make perfect sense. Not only that, but Saikal was later conquered by Renekton, which means that place has historical connections to him. Meaning it would explain
Yeah,
the
this
rounded
explanation
blades that
video
Ambessa is
I thought was
wielding.
going to
It would
help, but
simply
I'm
be a
so
traditional weapon
lost.
from Saikal. This is why, if Riot pulled this off, then I'm tipping my hat. Because that would be some great attention to lore here. Another thing that might be hinting at this being Ambessa's origin are the blue details on her clothes and in her hair.
I
Though
feel like
artistically,
I'm
it would
touching a
make
little
sense
bit
for
more of the
Fortiche to do
deeper
that to
end of
really
League of
highlight
Legends,
the
even
fact
though
that she
it's
is not
sort of
a
related to
Noxian
Arcane.
yet. Because after she joins Noxus, all the details turn red. Also, on top of that, looking at the cloaked figures around, I would not be surprised if these were the Shakal, who are a nomadic tribe that is roaming around the deserts, which could be related to what's coming next. So anyway, again, I'm pretty sure that the truth behind these characters and Ambessa's origins gets revealed in Arcane 2. So for now,
Okay.
just know that it is heavily implied that Ambessa is from Shurima, and that when she was young, she was forced to make a decision. Because here, you can see she is carrying a lamp.
Right.
Now, around the internet, this lamp started a hot discussion. Because for some reason, a lot of people believed that this lamp represents Mel. Because Ambessa is all about protecting her family. And that's
Oh.
why she is clutching on it so dearly. Well, the truth is, this is not Mel, this is something far more sinister. So, during certain shots, you may notice that the lamp does actually have the mark of death on its forehead. Which means that this lamp is representing Ambessa's peaceful life, which she had when she was living in Shurima.
Oh,
And
that, you
as
see,
she
that's
is
a
carrying
sick
it, she's
connection.
running towards the wolf, hinting that something sinister is about to happen later. After which we get a bunch of these blue tinted flashbacks, which are blue mostly to distinguish the scenes from each other. I don't believe there are any deeper meanings here. Anyway, here they show us stages of Ambessa's past, starting with a vision of the future and then slowly going back. Which means the first flashback shows us Ambessa sitting on a throne as a ruler. Now first, obviously this does look like a Noxian throne. So maybe Ambessa's ultimate goal is to take over Noxus. But it is also likely that this represents one of the seats in the Council of Piltover. Because now we know that Ambessa is joining the Council.
Right,
and her
right.
clothing here is kinda exactly the same as what we saw in the Arcane 2 trailers. After which we get a quick shot of Ambessa witnessing this vision, after which things get incredibly cool. You see, this entire trailer is not just based on canon lore. It is also a trailer for a skin line. Specifically,
Okay.
I believe this skin line is gonna be called something like Chosen of the Wolf, and it looks badass.
So these are
Which
skins
on
that
one
you guys
side
can use in
may
the
make
game?
you think that this is Pantheon. Which, yes, this is gonna be a skin for Pantheon. But this is not really him, and that's not really what's happening here. It's just a character that happens to look like Pantheon, so that Riot can sell the skin in the game. Because you see, in different regions, as well as by following different religions in this universe, people not only treat the lamp and the wolf differently, but they also
That's actually a
imagine them
sick
taking
shot.
your life in totally different ways. For
I
example,
like that
in
shot.
places like the Nausicaä or the Freljord,
For that
the
artwork?
lamb and the wolf look like what they do in the game. It's two different entities that actually look like a lamb and a wolf, who do their job of delivering peaceful or warrior's death. But in other regions, they may take on a totally different appearance.
Yeah, I
And
like that
in
appearance.
Noxus, it would be appropriate for the wolf to challenge you in the form of a warrior. giving you one last duel to the death to see if you are worthy of life. And so, just like
I don't know,
Trinidad
I feel like
fought
it
the
does
wolf,
kind of
so
gear
is
more towards looking
Ambessa
like
going
Pantheon.
to fight the wolf. So the Pantheon
Okay.
skin is not really Pantheon, but rather it is a skin of death itself. Also, I love that it is implying that this is a fully canonical skin.
Once again, this is just
Anyway,
like his
looking at
assumption,
design,
right?
some people are immediately gonna think of something like Rakor, especially since it is a skin for Pantheon. But there are some
Okay.
key differences here. Targonian gold is much smoother and flowing, and that's because celestial metals just don't behave the way you would expect them to. Instead here, even though it is gold, it has the classic sharp edges of Noxian armor, with the short lines referencing the Immortal Bastion. On top of that, occasionally you can see a detail referencing the wolf, but also, if you are doubting the fact that this is Noxian and not Targonian, well, the entire body is covered in tattoos of Noxian script. Now, as to why I believe that the
He's
warrior
like, just
is the
FYI.
wolf itself, well, first of all, Ambessa has to fight someone, and whoever she fights in this state is the death, and that's the only one she's fighting. But also,
So was she fighting herself
the
then?
shield literally turns into the face of the wolf. And so her battle with death begins. And as
Okay.
she's fighting, notice that the braids in her hair are still blue as she's clinging to fragments of her past. But of course, the wolf slowly kicks her butt, and suddenly her smooth body gets covered in scars. Scars that are both metaphorical and physical. So the flashback then goes back to Shurima, where more of these possibly imaginary or possibly Xerath's followers are revealed, and then the second statue flashback kicks in. Here we can see Ambessa possibly in the present days of this cinematic. It is likely after she joined Noxus, which is teased by the long Imperial cloak. Also, it is likely around the present days because Ambessa is dying in a Noxian warband. You can see that this statue feels chaotic, with a lot of other characters around, possibly teasing the chaos of all the Noxian families fighting for control. This could be why some of these statues seem to worship Ambessa, others look accusatory, and this single one kinda looks like a young Cassiopeia, but I might be going crazy here. And this is where Ambessa is forced to make the sinister decision. First of all, here we can really see how the cloaked figures look like a wolf, especially as they are circling Ambessa like a wolf pack, which is why it is more likely that these are imaginary. But more importantly, in this scene, Ambessa
would've been cool if
lets
it
go
wasn't
of the lamp, which means she is letting go of her past. She is letting go of the peaceful life she had in Shurima. Maybe she was forced to do it because she was raided by the Shakal. Or maybe she was forced to fight because of Xerath's followers.
And she did
But
mention
one way
something
or
about
another, she was
her own
forced to
father
fight, which is why
having to,
she
like, be
had
forced in
choose
war.
the wolf. An awesome detail to point out here is that the lamp is wearing the same blue details which Ambessa is also wearing,
Oh, and her
further
hair.
pointing at the current separation from the wolf. Also, I noticed that the lamp had these golden coins on its neck, and I couldn't figure out where I saw them before, and I'm just gonna leave this here and see if someone goes insane. But most importantly, the
Okay.
last thing to point out here
I'd be
is the
very surprised
lamp's
if there was a
body.
connection there.
It is made of this almost organic-looking metal, which
I
we
mean,
have
Fancy come
never
up with so
seen
many theories,
anywhere
right?
in this universe besides Arcane's trailers. And this is
Wait,
odd
what did he say?
because organic-looking metal, which we have never seen anywhere in this universe besides Arcane's trailers. And this is odd because now we have no idea what's the meaning behind this. Really, I can't even guess. I mean, hey, if the Xerath part is true and Ambessa is actually linked to him, with Xerath being the incarnation of arcane magic, with Arcane being in the title of the show, with this appearing in the trailers of the show, then I'm not really going insane.
So
here, you
Xerath
are.
is the
Anyway,
electricity-looking
Ambessa
guy?
lets go of the lamp and she fully embraces the way of the wolf, which is where the cinematic goes back to fighting the wolf. But now, after being punched down, she is able to land a few hits. And occasionally we get this awesome reflection of Ambessa in the face of the wolf, and this battle simply continues for a while. She then gets knocked back a few times as more scars appear on her body. We get this awesome shot that is
that was
definitely
sick.
not teasing a really cool skin. After which, she goes in for the neck, she gets parried by the spear, and she immediately gets slammed in her stomach. Not even a second later, she immediately gets back on her feet. And then we get back to Shurima, where the lamb is now being absolutely dismantled. And Ambessa then gets one more flashback, a scene of her peaceful life as she is clutching onto the way of the lamb. And this is why Ambessa is crying here. She is witnessing the
that gave me
more
goosebumps.
peaceful life she used to have. Although there might be a slight twist happening here. Because if you look around, even in this peaceful state, there are blades scattered around her. Which on one side might be foreshadowing the choice she would have to make, but also this might be hinting at the fact that while she was really having a peaceful life, everyone around her was constantly at war. And it is possible that because she didn't fight, she might have lost her family. This would also support why currently she is all about protecting her family.
Because of what she went through with her own.
That's definitely something we're gonna learn about in Arcane 2. Anyway, then we go back to the fight with the wolf, where the cinematic teases the other skins too. Of course, these shouldn't be as canonical as Pantheon, possibly, unless they all represent the different forms the wolf can take on. But obviously, these are skins for Swain and Katarina, both of whom are also getting a Chosen of the Wolf skin. Now, potentially, Swain could be getting this skin, because at one point in his
Both
life,
those
he
names
was
sound
actually
familiar, I'm not gonna
dying,
lie,
and he only
but I'd
survived
be
because he
lying
made
if
a
I said I
deal with the
remembered.
Demon of Secrets. So it is possible that Swain also faced the wolf in the past. And Katarina had a few close calls in her life. Talon almost managed to kill her, but she wasn't really dying. And she did get knocked out in the comic, but again, she wasn't dying. So who knows what's happening with Katarina? The truth is, it is possible that all of these figures are really other people who fought the wolf before. Or it is really just the many shapes of the wolf. Regardless, even after getting knocked down countless times, with all the scars now covering her body,
Her character design
Ambessa
looks
simply
sick there.
refuses to die, and so the wolf lets her go, which is shown by the warrior first stepping back, and then just as it opened its shield to start the fight,
Was the Pantheon
now
character
it
the same
closed
with
it
the
to
long
end it,
gray hair?
facing the face of the wolf away, which is where we get this grand finale. There are two scenes that are happening here at the same time.
Oh, is
In
this,
one of them,
this was the lamb then?
Ambessa finally reached the end of the crypt that we
That
saw
he was
at
mentioning
the very
earlier?
beginning. And she finally managed to meet the lamb face to face. Now, the reason why the lamb looks so different here is because, again, death is a subject of beliefs. And this is simply how Noxians portray the lamb. It still has the dark
Okay.
spiritual mask from all the legends. That one stays consistent across all the regions, because all legends are rooted in some kind of truth. But the Noxian version has this slender body that is pulsing with red light like a heartbeat. But then, in the other half of the flashbacks, Ambessa is approaching the throne, which is the same one that we saw in the Vision of the Future. And that is where something awesome happens. In the Shuriman scene, the lamb gets shattered and it is sacrificed to the wolf. Again, this is simply showing us Ambessa letting go of the way of the lamb. But once the shot goes back to the lamb, you can see that in the Noxian mythos, the lamb has a totally different purpose. Because Noxians don't worship the lamb as a way to experience death. She
Right,
is
they
not
said the
here to
wolf.
present Ambessa the peaceful arrow of death, even though that is what the lamb usually does. In the Still Here cinematic, you can see that the lamb fired an arrow at Tryndamere, but he split the arrow by which he accepted the death by the wolf. And in Yasuo's
Oh.
scene, you can actually see the peaceful arrow flashing in the air. But there, Yasuo accepted it.
Yeah.
The awesome twist is that in Noxus, the lamb doesn't even have a bow, because its job is not to deliver death. It is to offer death by the wolf, which is exactly what's happening here.
But
The
she
lamb's
defeated the wolf
only
in the other
purpose
scene.
is to lead Ambessa to the wolf. and Ambessa proudly accepts.
I'm
And you can see
so
that this
confused by
scene
that.
is happening after Ambessa already beat the wolf.
Exactly.
Because at the beginning of this script, she was clean, but now she is covered in scars from the battle. So here, she is essentially accepting a token of her victory. Which leads us back to Shurima,
okay.
where after giving up on the lamb, she started dancing, and she also put up makeup. I'm gonna be totally honest, I have no idea what this is about. Even the colors on the face now don't match Noxus or the wolf. This has to be an ad for the new Arcane makeup line. No, really, I do believe that this is just
Could
a
you
scene showing us
imagine?
the grieving over what she lost. It's possibly like smearing blood over your face, except now it's the lamb. But then she gets to sit on the throne, mimicking the
She
same
looks
pose we saw in the
badass.
vision of the future, meaning that Ambessa accepted her destiny. After which the acceptance of the wolf transforms her body and the entire cinematic becomes a lot more vague. Because remember,
Yeah, that's a
the point
different
of all of
body.
this is technically to promote a skin line, so I don't think that this skin specifically is really canon. But if it is, then it totally changes the entire meaning of what happened here. Because here, she's now taking the place of the wolf, with the wolf joining the rest in the back. So it's possible that whoever beats the wolf then gets to become the next form of the wolf, and they then get to fight the next person who's dying. But at that point, everything would become a little bit too complex. So let's not think about the other skins too much. What we can mention here is
Alright,
that
then let's
this
not do
is
that.
a perfect meld of her past and future. It has the Noxian script, the Noxian sharp armor. She still has the golden mask, which could be referencing the Mask of Death, or it could be related to her origins. And you may notice that she still has a smidget of blue on her, connecting it all to her origins in Shurima too. Which is also why this skin literally flashed back through all the other scenes. But don't worry, we are still not done yet, because there is one more scene that goes absolutely wild. Because then we also get to see a fetus, which could be one of two things. Some people believe
Mel?
that this is Mel, which would mean that while the
Or
entire
her
battle
brother,
was happening,
right?
Ambessa was pregnant. To a certain degree, this would definitely make sense, since Mel is quite old, and so it would make sense for Ambessa to have a child right around now. But remember that Ambessa had two children, because we know that Mel also had a brother called Kino, who died, and that's kinda all we know. With that said, that kinda plays into this scene too. Because on the other side, people also believe that this fetus is simply Ambessa. And I believe that too. Because with all the flashbacks of the statues going back in time, with the last one being Ambessa holding the lamb, it would make sense that this would be Ambessa's life simply going even further. The thing is, here you can see Ambessa's mask covering her eyes flashing gold from right to left, and it immediately transitions into the child, also flashing gold from right to left. Under normal circumstances, it would be obvious that this is simply showing Ambessa as being a child chosen by the wolf from the very beginning.
Or maybe she's passing it on to her children.
Being all about her being raised by wolves. But it could also be Mel, because, well, Kino died. And so Kino probably wasn't really good at fighting the wolf. So if it is Ambessa's child, it has to be Mel, which is where one of the coolest of twists happens. You see, it doesn't matter if it is Ambessa or Mel. What's important is the theme. The Medarda family seems to be using gold to indicate their battle with the wolf. A battle where whoever is challenged likely wins to stay alive. It is a flash of gold. A flash that goes from side to side, in a crucial moment of someone's life, all tied to experience of the Medarda family. I really hope I'm not going crazy, because the implications here are massive. But then we get to the final scene with Ambessa. She rips out the arrow, revealing that she was wearing the Medarda family crest the entire time, which might be a subtle way that she is fighting for her family now, which could also be a really badass way to show that she was pregnant during this time and she refuses to die because she has a family to raise.
That'd be pretty sick if that's the case.
Seems to be the shores of Ionia, which is where the cinematic ends. And that is where we can mention, holy shit, Yeah, I was expecting an ad for a skin. I did not expect to see Noxian Kindred alongside like 50 other lore references. This is absolutely wild.
It's awesome
And if
seeing how
anything,
geeked he is about this,
totally
you know?
made me hyped for the background story of Ambessa.
But this was
in
definitely
Arcane
like
2.
deeper
I
type of
kinda
lore
really
stuff, I feel
hope
like.
they lean into the entire Shuriman background because
I
that
was so
part
lost with
has
this one, you guys.
potential.
I mean, I'm lost with a
Also,
lot of League of
I'm
Legends
kinda
stuff,
afraid
but
that they are gonna explain the vagueness of the wolf in this cinematic, and that's gonna ruin the entire experience. Either way, since it is Fortige who made this, I wouldn't be surprised if this was originally supposed to be an opening scene from one of the episodes, kinda like how Geass also got his past revealed at the beginning of one episode, but then they couldn't fit it in, and so we just got an extra music video. One that revealed
pretty cool.
Ambessa's really cool relationship.
because then it means at
with
least the
Death,
community got something out of it.
which also has an interesting side to it. You remember when Ambessa was tasting the local cuisine?
Oh, and she has the scars too.
Yeah, she was literally tasting the wolf.
Yo, that local cuisine scene had me dying. Okay, that was a lot to digest. I was completely like more lost than I normally am. I don't know. Hopefully it made for a good reaction. You guys seem to appreciate when I do watch these explanation videos, even though once again, it's not like a solid fact. It's a lot of theory as well. So I can see a lot of the fandom always not liking these videos. But hey, at least it gives me something to kind of, you know, connect it to when I do watch Arcane Season 2, even though I'm sure Arcane Season 2 is going to explain everything I need to know and I don't need this video. But it's still always interesting, right? And being able to see Kindred and the Lamb and the Wolf in a different side of things with like the Noxus belief was super, super dope. Trippy ass video, very overwhelming, but fun nonetheless. But alright guys, I guess that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Comment down below. I love hearing from you guys. Subscribe for more content, and I'll see y'all for the next one.